What's good, everyone? It's your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So you clearly see the title of the broadcast. And earlier today, as I'm making this broadcast right now, where I'm at Central Standard Time, it's 9:39 right now, as of the beginning of the making of this broadcast here. Listen, look, people, this is outrageous. So apparently, in service today in the Church of Latter-day Saints was attacked, and this lone gunman, whatever you want to call it, decided to go to the house of worship and attack these people while they were there, and minding their own business on top of that, and completely destroyed the house of the Lord. And also, injured a few people and deleted two. This is crazy out here. I titled the broadcast the way that I did. Yes, I feel like that, Christians are under attack here in America. This is crazy to me. And so we're going to dive off into this. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Investigation. Brian?
Joey, good evening. At 10:25 this morning, a man rammed his vehicle into the front doors of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan, while hundreds were inside worshiping. The 40-year-old man then got out of his car and began shooting, hitting 10 people, killing at least two. The shooter was shot and killed by two local police officers who heroically engaged in a firefight. Now, police say the shooter deliberately set the church on fire, a blaze that engulfed the entire church. Tragically, police believe multiple victims died in that fire.
We do believe that there was people up there that were near that fire and they were unable to get out of the church. So we do believe that we will find additional victims once we're able to search that, once there's no signs of a fire reigniting.
A witness tells Fox the attack happened as the congregation had just finished taking the sacrament. The shooter turned his gun on those who were running away from the church and those who were running towards him to help in what they believed to be a car accident, but was instead an attack. Joey?
Thanks, Brian.
This is wild right here, man. This is wild and crazy to me. But, the good book always warned about times like these, that there were going to come days that, the faith was going to need to be held and going to need to be, basically held on to and even tighter, and I find that we're in these days now, to where you have to hold on to your faith even tighter, because this is ridiculous here. So, yes, we're going to keep diving because this is a very horrible situation. And this is not the only situation. We just had the children that got, with the school, with the with the transgender that, deleted a bunch of children just a few weeks back, and a lot of other things that have been going on against Christians here lately that have been starting to amp up and things. It's crazy out here to me. So let's go here now. We're going to check out a couple of news reports, and then we're going to see what other people have to say about this. Let's go here now.
Horror in Grand Blanc, Michigan.
We have an active shooter of the church.
After authorities say a 40-year-old male suspect drove his car through the front door of a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then fired several rounds with an assault rifle, killing two people and injuring others during Sunday's morning service.
The suspect, again, we're in the preliminary stages right now, was neutralized at 10:33:44 in the parking lot of that church. That suspect is a 40-year-old male from the city of Burton, who we identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford.
Officials say hundreds of people were inside.
During all this incident as well, there was a fire that occurred, and we believe that was deliberately set by the suspect. We do believe that we will find additional victims.
The flames engulfing parts of the building, a plume of black smoke filling the air, and as many as 3 improvised devices found at the scene. That's according to 2 senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation.
We're going to do search warrants on the suspect's residence. We're going to find out if there was a motive.
The attack shocking local residents.
I can't actually believe that this would happen in my city. Like, that nothing like this has ever even come close to happening here.
Adrian is joining us now from the scene in Grand Blanc. Adrian, what else are we learning about the victims tonight?
Callie, authorities are saying tonight 7 of the victims are stable and at least 1 is listed in critical condition. We know one of them was treated for smoke inhalation. We're still waiting to hear an update on the others. Callie?
Adrian Broaddus, thank you. For more on this investigation, we'll bring in our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. So, Tom, given the details that we know so far, it appears there was some degree of planning involved here, right?
That's right, Hallie. And I think that's why you're seeing the bomb squad outside of this individual's house. They're clearly going to look at the devices that they found at the church. What type of planning took place? When did he put together those devices? How was he able to get all of that fired? Did anybody else know about it? You can say the same for the weapon. Did anybody else help him purchase that? That could lead to additional investigative avenues. And then the third investigative avenue, and really the most important one for investigators right now, is what is the motive behind this? What was it in this person's life that made them take this harsh pivot to drive their vehicle into the front of the church door, begin firing and create this attack? Could that help investigators try to stop these type of incidents in the future? That's something obviously they're going to be focused on.
So pull on that thread, though, Tom, because as always, this idea of motivation is such a critical clue for investigators in any instance like this.
It's such a critical clue because you're going to try to use that to develop some sort of behavioral profile to try to be able to key in on who is responsible and why are we having all of these attacks here in the U.S. And that's something I spent the last week speaking with current and former law enforcement officials in this country. I'm talking about police chiefs. I'm talking about colonels. They are very concerned about the level of threats and the frequency of these attacks here in the U.S. Hallie.
It's the mental health that's going on over here in America. The lack of love in society, the lack of humanity, the lack of understanding each other, the willing to, delete other people because they don't believe what you believe and things like that. It's the lack of really humanity. And I want to reach back for that, because the humanity standpoint is that we need to understand each other. We need to actually get along. And even if we have difference of opinions or ways of life to live, it shouldn't end in people being, deleted like this. This is crazy out here. And this is sad that we're dealing with a situation to where people are in church having service and things like that. And, I think of myself too, is if I was in church having service and some idiot decided to come in my house of worship and things like that and decide to do something crazy like this. This is ridiculous.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
This is ridiculous. And I don't want anybody to blame this on, gun laws and things like that. No. The good people need to be able to still protect themselves as well. And this is the catch-22 that we're in. Yes, it is what it is. We have idiots out here with, and I'm not even going to use this mental health issue, with bad spirits, bad inklings, and whatever else you want to call them. I like to reference the movie Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. If you ever seen that movie, or if you haven't, go watch it. You know what I'm saying? It was the spirit that was running around, and it could transfer through people by touching other people, and it just, it's crazy. Go watch the movie. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So we're finna keep going. This is wild out here, people.
Details coming down after a shooting in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, about an hour north of Detroit. That's where at least 4 people have been killed, 8 injured at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Police say the gunman crashed his car through the front of the church during service, started shooting, and then set the house of worship on fire. Right now, officials are searching the charred building for more victims. The suspect, now identified as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, killed in a shootout by police. The truck you see on your screen is allegedly his. Within just the last hour, officials updating us on the investigation.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is now leading the investigation and is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
The Michigan State Police continues to respond to several locations throughout the community as we receive additional bomb threats at other locations. Please continue to stay vigilant, and if you see something suspicious, say something.
No, I don't know how many people are unaccounted for at this time. We do know that there are some that are unaccounted for. I also like to acknowledge the heroism of not only the first responders, but the people who were inside that church at the time. They were shielding the children who were also present within the church, moving them to safety. Just hundreds of people just practicing their faith. Just extreme courage, brave, and that's the type of community that we are.
Thank you for watching.
Yes, I definitely feel that. That's, you know what I'm saying, that's what's up. So yeah, this is a tragic situation. It is what it is. And I like to retract what I said a minute ago. Not Deja Vu. Deja Vu was another movie that Denzel was in. I'm talking about the movie Fallen. The movie Fallen is the one I'm talking about, where the spirit was, you know, but you get what I'm saying though. Listen, look, man, it is a real negative spirit going on in society today, whether people like it or not. You know what I'm saying? You know, everybody's not a believer. I'm not talking to everybody, but for the people that know and for the people that actually understand, it is what it is though. And this is what's going on here. And be honest with you though, I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to be a situation to where we're going to need, you know, true protection out here. We're going to need to, you know, rethink some things, definitely in our churches, our schools, and stuff like that, where the most vulnerable people are. Because, you know, when you go to church, you go to school, stuff like that, you know, you shouldn't have to deal with situations like this. You shouldn't have to worry about, you know, individuals with, you know, ill will or, you know, horrible spirits, you know, running up and doing crazy things like this. This is wild out here. So we're going to keep diving and we're going to see what other people are saying out here.
They finally released the picture and identity of the guy who firebombed the Mormon church earlier today. And he also rammed his vehicle into the church, exiting his vehicle, unaliving 2 people. This is Thomas Sanford, the guy that's responsible for all those casualties and victims earlier today. They say that he's a registered Republican and he goes to MAGA rallies regularly whenever he has the time. He's no longer doing that now because he's unalive during an exchange of fire with law enforcement. But this is the guy who is responsible for all that havoc. This attack wasn't politically motivated. They just releasing details on this individual. Condolences to the families that lost those lives, especially this is a traumatic situation. You know, no one should go to church in fear. Our school, you know, you should be able to go to church and praise, whether people don't believe what you believe in or not. You should be able to, you know, have praise and fellowship with your members.
Right. And it's nowhere around those facts. But this is where we at right here. And I think that, you know, these institutions that technically are unprotected, like schools, churches, stuff like that, I think they do need to add a level of protection. You know, I really hate that this has to happen, you know, because it shouldn't be this way. It should not be this way that people have to have armed guards just to go praise the Lord.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
I mean, I don't, or even to go to school. Man, is this where we at here? Because Jesus.
So we are all very clear. The alleged Marine Corps Iraq veteran in Michigan who attacked the LDS church, this is financial records to donations. And this is who he donated to. Starting there at a level playing field, everyone has to understand that there has been a festering of an evil and a hate towards anyone apparently who is praying to Jesus, because in fact, they are the only ones that aren't out here trying to commit violence on anybody. So, you know, why not? But we got to understand as Christians and as Americans that in fact, Jesus and the Constitution have given us the ability to take up our swords. So do not mistake that in fact, training and hardening your own targets is the only way that you become a mitigated and or prevented next event. You cannot pray this away. Get with your church, get with your pastor, get with your local police, get some training in. I have no doubt there's veterans in those congregations. You know what you know.
And faith without works is dead. And I believe that acclimates to more than just, you know, you have to put the work in. And where I'm going with this is that, yes, I think, you know, protection is definitely needed in these, you know, very vulnerable institutions. And like I said, though, it is a tragedy that we have to have, you know, our institutions like church and schools and stuff like that be guarded at such a high level. But I think in order to provide the proper protection, you know, like this gentleman was saying, things like that, we have to have a level of, you know, definitely within the church, in schools, stuff like that. We have to have a level of individuals and, you know, that will go there and be willing to, you know, that have the foresight to, you know, see things like this coming, to stave off tragic events like this. And, you know, it just is what it is. This is where we're at here. This is where we're at here in America. And we have no choice now, you know, to protect our children, to protect our, you know, citizens that are not, you know, meaning anybody else any harm and stuff like that. This is where we at. So let's go here now. Let's check this one out.
Hey Christians, do me a favor and figure out if your church has any type of security team. If they do and you have experience, consider volunteering for it. And if they don't, ask them why. Simple fact is, right now we live in a time where people really do not like Christians and they really want to see Christians hurt. Fun fact for you, I've seen a couple sources reporting that the Al-Naba or Al-Naba newsletter that ISIS puts out, that ISIS, their September issue this month called for attacks on Jewish and Christian places of worship, churches, schools, public transport, things like that, with guns, knives, bombs, cars, and everything in between. It gives instructions and calls for lone wolves and group attackers to go out and commit attacks in the name of Islam. Your churches have been specifically threatened. Therefore, it is in your best interest and your family's best interest to make sure that they are secured. This ain't the time to say, Jesus, take the wheel, turn the other cheek, folks. It's time to put the people in your congregations that want to protect it to use. Unfortunately, it looks like we're re-entering an era where spiritual wars are fought with real warfare. This enemy does not care about decency, women, children, or anything. It cares about carnage and terror. And I don't know if you've seen the news lately, but there are a lot of them. There's also a lot of veterans and first responders in the church that would love to protect it. That's all I got for today. Love you guys. Be blessed.
Listen, look, shout out to that.
And what's the French toast is there to think about?
And I presented these last two gentlemen with what we was talking about here. Yes, we need to have, you know, definitely a security team for our churches, for our schools and stuff like that, that are actually trained, you know, American citizens that love their country and also love the people within it and understand the level of, and understand humanity. You know, and I'm gonna keep stressing that humanity is what keeps the balance in everybody's mindset. Now, you know, the crazy people, they don't care about humanity. And that's the whole point of what we're talking about here. The people that need to be put in the room with the jackets that make them hug themselves are either, you know, put on, you know, death row, whatever. Yeah, I said it. These people don't care about humanity. They don't care about anybody. They don't even care about themselves, stuff like that. The reason why you have these situations at these schools and stuff like that and the other places to where these people are even taking themselves out. Of course they don't care. Who gonna convince me that a person that's willing to take their self out cares about life?
And what's the French toast is there to think about?
But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.